tell you that Gothic people have souls too. Have you ever met a super Scorpio? Is there anything problematic about this sign for you? Maybe you notice them drinking cup after cup of black coffee. After all, black is one color of the scorpion. Of course, we know that every chart is perfect, thank you to Kim Strickland, and we also know that there are positive traits to any sign. This is the Remediation channel, however, so here we will focus on problems and remedies for the intense sign of Scorpio. Share with us in the comments below. Do you have any planets in Scorpio? What house is Scorpio for you? Now, follow along with this video to enhance and uplift your Scorpio elements. Let's first look at the physical elements of the sign. The first book I will look into is Medical Astrology by Judith Hill. What does Judith say about the sun in Scorpio? I'm reading from page 19. I've used this book so much that it doesn't even have a cover. She says, Sun in Scorpio. The chi force is very powerful in this sign, and Scorpio's children can overcome even the most serious and life-threatening of illnesses. Scorpio has more than one life and will always rise again. First of all, she notes that Scorpio is super strong. So, have no fear at all. In fact, Scorpio is said to have more Jing than any other sign. Jing could be understood as life essence or a concentrated form of Qi. Check Wikipedia for more information on Jing. Judith does mention a few problems, such as body odor, acne, surliness, and diarrhea. She suggests Scorpios need assistance in detoxing with herbs, sweat baths, etc. Of course, for all your medical astrology info, get Judith's book. It is the best in the field. Now, let's look to Cornell's Encyclopedia of Medical Astrology. This older book has lists of ailments for each sign. Cornell says that Scorpio has an affinity with the nose and the bladder. He also associates Scorpio with the anus, cervix, lower bowels, female functions, genitals, pelvis, penis, prostate, reproductive system, etc. Check page 747 for more information. If you have anything in Scorpio in your chart and you've had problems with any of these body systems, we want you to become an expert in those body systems. Read Natural Remedies for XYZ, how to deal with the bowels from a natural perspective, Natural Remedies for female functions, etc. You can also find a doctor that you like that deals with these body systems. Find an OBGYN that really suits you. Another way to look at physical astrology is seen in this book, Astral Somatica, written by Casey Cardoso and myself, but Casey is the main kinesiologist in this book. And Casey would look at the signs not so much in a medical sense, but where is the sign living in the vertebrae, the vertebral bodies, the nerves coming out of the vertebrae, and eventually the dermatomes, which are electromagnetic swaths of skin that come out from the vertebral body and the nerve extending from such. If we look to the dermatomes, you can see that these are the dermatomes that Scorpio lives in. And you can see why all these body systems are under the sign of Scorpio. The energy infiltrates these dermatomes in Scorpio and gets into all of the organ systems below. According to Casey Cardoso, Scorpio affects T11, T12, and L1. Those are the vertebrae we're looking at. It also affects the penis, vagina, the psoas muscle, which wraps right around the hip, the ovaries, and the testes. So we don't necessarily have to look at Scorpio from a medicalized fashion, but we could just say that Scorpios live in these body systems. Of course, being the Remediation channel, we do want to say if there is a problem, we can solve it. Now, what might maladies look like in these body systems? One thing we often see with a strong Mars in Scorpio is that it causes problems to the female organs. Mars in Scorpio can cause an abundance of red energies in the middle third of the body. Think about it, a red planet in a red sign. This is a strong Mars. We might see something like endometriosis or an overabundance of bleeding during periods. One time, I had a young girl in my office with Mars at 3 Scorpio. She was in her Mars return, Mars was also at 3 Scorpio, and she started hemorrhaging from her uterus right after the appointment. It could be said that her body was bloodletting out some of the extra iron and extra red from her system. Now, Mars in Scorpio could also bring heat to the genitals, producing heat release symptoms. Sometimes people call these herpes. There are also rashes and things like that. Disclaimer time. I am not a doctor, nor do I claim to be one. I am just talking about what heat release through the Scorpio dermatomes might look like. Also, I don't want you to be alarmed if you have planets in Scorpio, thinking you might get some of these problems. I'm merely suggesting that if one of these problems is already presenting, there might be some remedies to handle such heat. Go ahead and Google hijama points for irregular periods. Hijama points for endometriosis. Now, hijama is not only cupping, it is wet cupping. It's where you put the cup on, you put little slits in it, you put the cup on, and you pull out a bunch of red. What we would essentially be doing here is bloodletting some of the red right out the back of a person. Maybe from this area instead of from out of the uterus. Remember, purgation of fluids is one of the biggest and most used astrological remedies, being traced back all the way to the time of Hippocrates. If you want more information, read Hippocrates on the nature of man. Now let's go back to a modern illness, herpes. Now imagine this actually stems from a buildup of heat and excessive red in the system. Now imagine pulling that red right out the back, as we just discussed. This would cut down on the symptomology and flare-ups. Note, you are probably thinking, a virus causes herpes, Andy. You're crazy. Think again. Many people have the herpes virus and never have a herpes outbreak. Some of them have one outbreak and then never again. That could have been Mars in Scorpio transiting their chart once. It's people with Mars and Scorpio in the natal chart who have the potential for heat in the system to be expressed over and over again. Only people with really hot charts have the potential to get such a repeated outbreak and that kind of expression. Remember, astrology can explain things that other professionals cannot. Astrologers exist for a reason. For other medical problems related to Scorpio, we want to become experts in that problem, whatever it is, and of course let the auto mechanic see us as well. The auto mechanic here is the doctor, of course. We can also avoid behavioral influences, such as the contraction of STDs. Scorpios are a sexy variety of people. We can use protection, get tested often, etc. Even if we believe charts cause symptomology, not necessarily viruses, we'd still want to follow all wisdoms that exist in the world. One wisdom is to be safe when you're being sexually active. We're not trying to cut down on the sexuality of Scorpios here. We're just trying for harm reduction. If you want to consult about the exact buildup of your chart and dermatomes, I'm happy to look at your chart through the lens of astrology. Contact me anytime for an individual astrology reading. Now, let's move our focus to the dark, dirty personality of the Scorpio person. There is no sign as metal, as goth, as deep, or as intense as this one. These are the rebels of the zodiac. Look at this picture from the Astrological Body Types by Judith Hill. Scorpios are the bad guys of the zodiac. Now, what does Vettius Valens, an astrologer living 2,000 years ago, say about Scorpio? Valens says, Mars is at home in Scorpion, a feminine, fixed, watery, and extremely fertile sign. Scorpions are born with an abundance of seeds. At times, they can be destructive. Scorpio's inclined downwards, is not very vocal, and is associated with slavery. The essence of a scorpion is entirely unchangeable. If a star is retrograde at birth, the native could smell quite foul. If there's an eclipse in Scorpio, the native could be highly prolific, capable of producing many great works. Honestly, scorpions can be quite treacherous. They can manifest in an oppressive manner, either pressured under a great pile of work or overpowering others as a master. At times, Scorpios can be inclined to murder, as there is a bloodthirsty temperament. They can abandon or betray people fixed in their ways. If a star is retrograde in Scorpio, it can inspire secret plots, theft, swearing falsely in a court of law. In general, Scorpios are covetous, sharing secrets, and being generally spiteful. They might even become an accomplice in a murder or make and sell drugs. Okay, well, we all know that Vettius Valens was a dark, morbid character. A Scorpio, I believe. Maybe a Scorpio moon. Check the historians for more info on his chart. And though, what we can see here is there is an edge to the Scorpio personality. There's something kind of intense about a Scorpio. Are you afraid of Scorpios after hearing from Valens? Never be afraid. There's always a remedy. There's always a way to get through to the best of the sign. And yet, I do think Valens had a point. Scorpios are intense. All right, go ahead and comment below. Where do you agree with Valens? Where do you disagree? Now, let's move on to a more modern understanding of the personality characteristics of a Scorpio. What does the A to Z horoscope maker and interpreter have to say? On page 65 and 66, we see a list of undesirable characteristics of Scorpions. Now remember, all things that are undesirable can be turned around into something desirable. The A to Z says Scorpios can be severe. A positive way to look at this is they can be tough. A to Z says callous. Well, this is having boundaries. They can be caustic. Well, they are being real, saying what needs to be said. Sarcasm. Well, this is martial humor, and it cuts the mustard. It really gets through to situations that need a joke to release tension. Scorpios are suspicious. Well, here we could say they're perceptive, getting to the bottom of things. They're destructive. Well, here we go again. Fierce and tough. Vindictive. They're thorough about their resentments. They're tyrannous. Okay, well, they're powerful leaders. And lastly, A to Z says they're passionate. Well, there's nothing wrong with passion. This is a test in the acceptance of the personality of the Scorpio, as well as finding beauty in the Scorpio traits. Now, desirable characteristics exist as well. A to Z notes energy, which is martial water. Action, again, this is a martial sign. Positiveness. Fearlessness. Yes, Scorpios are super brave. Tenacity. They have hyperfocus. Penetration. Scorpios are life's top. They penetrate the world. They're martial. A to Z notes thoughtfulness. Devotion. Again, we get back to the hyperfocus of Scorpio, where they have loyalty and commitment to ideas and people. Patience. Remember, this is a fixed sign. Ambition. They are very goal-oriented. And obsession. Scorpios bring great focus to areas of life for other people to enjoy. If you don't like any of the characteristics of Scorpio, turn them around to find the positives in that tendency. Remember, nothing is a detriment unless it is expected to be something else. Remedies for these personality traits could be acceptance. You need to just accept how Scorpios are. Or surrender. Just surrender to them and let them be how they need to be. Here's a note. It is valid to fight with a Scorpio. Why? They are tough. And they are a Mars sign. They are the emotional warriors of the zodiac. For more information on dealing with martial energies, watch Mars, Problems and Remedies. Now, let's look at timing. When do we really see the energy of the Scorpio come out in full form? Halloween! That's when the zombies, the ghouls, the witches, and the monsters come out. The sun is at 8 Scorpio every year on Halloween. Moreover, the last time we saw Jupiter go through Scorpio was the Me Too years. That was an amazing emotional battle. The Scorpio warriors came out to fight for sexual rights and protection. Now, do you have planets in Scorpio in your chart? What do you do every year around Halloween? One homework for you would be to take an ephemeris and look at the next transits to Scorpio. Scorpio's kind of inert right now, with everything having been in Taurus, Uranus in Taurus, Jupiter was just in Taurus. We have to look to the future to see when our transit's going to go through Scorpio. When is the inner Scorpion in you going to be lit up? We can look forward to the sun transiting through Scorpio this year around Halloween. We can also look to Mercury transiting through Scorpio, Venus, Mars. On a bigger level, when is the next Jupiter year for Scorpio? What will you plan to do with your energies at that time? What will you be fighting for? One remedy for Scorpio is to never waste the energy and always give it a goal. It is great to plan to use that Scorpio energy since it is passionate and ambitious. We don't want it to eat you up or go to waste, fighting with people for no reason. Lastly, watch the Scorpio moon every month hit your chart. What do you like about yourself during these times? What don't you like? If you don't like something, what are some better outlets for that Scorpio energy? Can you work with symbolic substitution to find appropriate context and activities for this part of you? If you don't know what symbolic substitution is, subscribe to this channel as I will be releasing a video on that remedy soon. No. In conclusion, we will always want to channel our Scorpio planets into useful fights, useful tasks, and meaningful causes. We want to use the energy for its best reasons. And remember, you can always wear some metal t-shirts and goth new rock boots while you do anything and everything. No one wears black like a Scorpio. You are perfect just how you are. See you next time.